Okay, now we're going to do some simple interest problems. We're going to be taking the interest formula, I is equal to PRT, and we're going to be moving it around a bit and coming up with other variations of the same formula just using some simple algebra, and I'll show you how that works. In the meantime, you can take your calculator and you can try some of these. Remember order of operations, okay? Remember some simple algebra, like on this one right here, 18x plus 2 equals 38. Well, subtract 2 from both sides, and then you can calculate x, okay? All right, let's do the first example. Sierra is completing her tax form. She earned $30.24 in simple interest from her bank. She remembered investing $1,200 with her bank for 1 year. She cannot remember the interest rate. What was the interest rate on Sierra's investment? Well, we start with the original formula. I is equal to PRT, and we just substitute in what we know. We know the interest. It says that she made $30.24, so let's put in $30.24. P is the original principal that she had. It's $1,200, so we're going to write in $1,200 here. Times the rate we don't know, so we're going to leave it as R, times how many years? Well, it says 1 year, so we're going to put the number 1 in here. Okay? Now we're going to solve for R. Okay, so we have $30.24 is still our interest, is equal to 1,200 times R times 1. Well, anything times 1 is itself, so this is just going to be 1,200 times R. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to solve for R. How do we do that? Well, we need to get rid of the 1,200, and the way we can get rid of the 1,200 is dividing it by itself, because any number divided by itself is the number 1, and 1 times R is R. So I'll divide that by 1,200. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So 1,200 is also going to go on the bottom over here, and then our $30.24 goes over here. So that 1,200 cancels out with that 1,200. I end up with R by itself. R is equal to this number divided by this number, 30.24 divided by 1,200. And I get an answer of, take your calculator, 0.0252. That's our interest rate, 0.0252. But we know that interest rates are expressed as a percent. So what we do is we take that number, 0.0252, we multiply it by 100, that gives us a percent, and the interest rate turns out to be 2.52%. So the interest rate on Sierra's investment was 2.52%. Okay, so what we did was we just started with the original formula. Interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time, and we manipulated it in a way where we could solve for any one of these other variables. Okay, one of the ways that we can do this, if we know I is equal to PRT, okay, we can solve for any other one. We can say that the rate is just equal to the interest rate divided by the principal times the time. Okay, we can also say that time is equal to the interest rate divided by the principal, or so the interest earned divided by the principal times the interest rate. I is equal to PR. So from this formula, we can get manipulate it and get some other formulas. We can also say that the principal, okay, is equal to the interest rate divided by, or the interest earned divided by the interest rate times time. So we can take this formula and algebraically come up with a formula for the interest rate, the time, and the principal. Okay, so this is something that you're going to want to remember too. Okay. All right, so let's do one here where we're going to be actually doing that. Substitute the given information into the simple interest formula and solve for t. Okay, just a minute here. We'll have to go back to here. Okay, here's our example right here. Stefan is saving to buy a used boom lift for his tree trimming business. He needs $9,800. He has $9,475 saved. Okay, he plans to invest his savings at an annual rate of 1.59% or 1.59% per year. How long, okay, so they're asking us about time. How long must Stephen invest to earn the additional $325 in interest he needs? This 325 just came from subtracting this number from this number, because this is how much he needs. He needs to earn an additional 325. Okay, so let's take those numbers, all these numbers here, and let's put them into the formula. And let's see if we can solve for time. Okay, so substitute the given information into the simple interest formula, then solve for t, time. So the amount of interest he needs, okay, he needs to earn $325. Okay, that's what he needs. He's starting out with $9,475 from the question. That's what his principal is. The interest rate is 1.59% or 0.0159 times t. Okay, so now we're going to solve for t. 325 is equal to 9,475 times 0.0159, which turns out to be $150, or 0.6525. We're going to take it to 4 decimal places because we want our time to be as accurate as possible. And the more decimal places you take it to, the more accurate it is. Times t for time. Okay? So now we want to get t. Well, how do we get t is equal to? T by itself. Well, we need to get rid of this 150.625 that's attached to it. So we divide it by itself. Okay, so this is just 325 divided by 150.6525, and that number divided by that number gives us an answer of 2.157 years. Okay, so he needs to invest his money for 2.157 years, but the 2 years we understand, but what does the 157 mean? Okay, it would make more sense if it was in days, 2 years and so many days. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 2.157 years and we're going to convert it to days. So what is the time in years and days? So round up. So time is equal to 2.157 years. Multiply that by 365 days per year. Okay? And we get an answer of 787.3 days, or we're going to round 788 days because it says round up. So we'll round up to 788 days. So 788 days, that's the same as 2.157. We subtract 365 days for 1 year. We subtract 365 days for another year, and we get an answer of 58 days. So 788 days is the same as 2 years and 58 days. So Stephen needs to invest for 2 years and 58 days. Okay? Now, how else could we have done it? Well, we could have done it by the way that I showed you over here. We could have used one of these formulas right here. We want to find time, so we could have used this one right here. Time is equal to the interest earned divided by the principal divided by the rate. Okay, T is equal to I divided by PR. So that's another way we could have done it. That's solution number 2. So solve for T. Okay, we want time, so we want to get rid of the PR, so we're going to divide this by P and R, because that P cancels with that P and that R cancels with that R. But what I do to one side, I have to do the other, so this is PR. So now we have the interest is equal to the principal divided by the interest rate, or the interest earned is principal divided by the interest rate. So we get I divided by PR is equal to T. So let's just substitute those numbers in. Substitute into the formula, you rearrange for part A. So we have the interest earned, or the interest that he needs is $325. The principal is $94.75, and the interest rate is 0.0159. So we end up with 325 divided by 150.6525, and we get an answer of 2.157 years again. So there's two ways you can do it. You can do it this way by substituting everything right into the formula, okay, and then solving for it separately, or you can just take your manipulated formula, one of the other rearranged parts of the formula, and substitute the numbers in there. So time is equal to, again, 2.157 years times 365 days per year. Okay, so we get 2.157 years is equal to 2 years plus 0.157 years times 365. So 2.157 is equal to 2 years plus 57 days, because 0.157 times 58 days, we would need to round up. Forgot, have to round up. 58 days, or 2 years and 58 days. So we need to invest it for 2 years and 58 days. Okay, so there was two ways that we could have done this. We can substitute everything into the original formula and then do the math from there and rearrange it, or we can substitute the numbers into the rearranged formula like we did right here, okay, and solve it that way. It really doesn't matter which way you do it, you get exactly the same answer. Okay, now go ahead and try some practice ones.